The woman who walked out of my life without a word walked back into it at 9:04 on a Monday morning, wearing a charcoal blazer and carrying a folder with my name on it. She looked at me across a conference room full of people, smiled the way a surgeon smiles before the anesthesia, and said, "Let's see if you still talk back. My name is Daniel Reyes." I was 34, a senior systems architect at a mid-sized logistics software company in Portland, and I had spent 4 years being very good at exactly two things: building infrastructure that didn't fall over and not thinking about Sloane Whitaker. I was outstanding at the first one. The second one was a work in progress, had been for 4 years, would apparently be a work in progress until I died. Let me back up, because the Monday doesn't make sense without the 4 years before it. Sloane and I met at 29 at a company that no longer exists, in a war room at 2 in the morning during an outage that had already eaten 16 hours and most of our will to live. Half the engineering org was in that room. Somebody had brought in a bucket of fried chicken that had gone cold and been eaten anyway, and there was this woman I'd never met, new transfer, product side, standing at the whiteboard telling a room full of exhausted engineers that our proposed fix was, and I quote, structurally optimistic. Everyone hated her instantly. It was beautiful. I hated her too for about 40 minutes. Then I realized she was right. Our fix was optimistic. It patched the symptom and left the disease. I said so out loud in front of everyone, and I watched her head turn toward me with this expression of genuine surprise, like a chess player who'd expected a bad move and gotten a good one. We were in that room until 6 in the morning. By 4, everyone else had given up and gone home, and it was just the two of us and a whiteboard and a dead bucket of chicken. And we solved it. Actually solved it. The real fix. The one that held. And at 5:50 a.m., she capped her marker and looked at me and said, "You argue well. You argue better." "I know," she said. "That's why I noticed." That was the beginning. That's how it started. Two people who found out that the most interesting thing in the world was being told they were wrong by someone who could prove it. For 18 months, Sloane Whitaker was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I have never been so alive in my life. We fought about everything. Not cruel fighting. The other kind, the kind that's a sport, the kind where you're grinning while you do it. We fought about architecture. We fought about a movie for 3 hours in a parking lot. She once made me physically leave a restaurant because I wouldn't concede a point about municipal zoning, and then texted me from the sidewalk. "You're still wrong. Come back. I ordered you the thing you like." She made me sharper. That's the honest truth. I was smart before her, and I was dangerous after her because she'd spent 18 months refusing to let a single lazy sentence out of my mouth, and I did the same for her. We were the two people in every meeting who could say the unsayable thing, and everyone else in the company found us exhausting, and we found each other like water. And underneath all the fighting, there was this other thing, this quiet, warm thing that neither of us was any good at saying. She'd fall asleep against my chest after 11 hours in the office, and I'd sit there doing nothing, staring at a ceiling, feeling like I'd finally solved a problem I hadn't known I'd been running in the background my whole life. In the mornings, she made coffee wrong on purpose because she knew it made me insane. She left her book on my nightstand with the last page dog-eared. She read endings first. She said uncertainty gave her hives. I was going to marry her. I hadn't said it. I had a ring. It was in a sock drawer for 4 months, which is its own kind of cowardice, but I had it, and I had a plan, and the plan was for a Saturday in October. She left on a Tuesday in September. No fight. That's what nobody believes. There was no fight. We'd had a completely normal weekend. We argued about a documentary. She won. She was insufferable about it. I made pasta. Normal. Good. The best kind of ordinary. Tuesday, I came home and her things were gone. Not all of them. That's what made it worse. Just the essential ones, taken clean and fast, the way you evacuate rather than the way you move. Her toothbrush. Her laptop. The 3 books. Her side of the closet had that awful geometry of hangers with nothing on them. And on the counter a note, 6 words. "I'm sorry. Please don't look for me." That was it. That was the entire explanation I got for 18 months of my life. I called 40 times, I texted, I emailed. Nothing bounced, she just didn't answer. By Thursday, her number was disconnected. By the following Monday, HR informed the department that Sloane Whitaker had resigned effective immediately. Personal reasons, please direct questions to no one. Her friends didn't know. Her sister, I tracked down her sister, which I'm not proud of. Her sister said, "Danny, I love you, but if she wanted you to know, she'd have told you," and hung up. And that was somehow the cruelest thing anyone has ever done to me, because it meant someone knew. It meant there was a reason. There was a reason and it existed and I was specifically excluded from it. That's the thing about being left without a word. Grief you can do. Grief has a shape. I've buried people. You cry and you rage and eventually the ground firms up under you. But this was a room with no floor. Because there was no story. My brain, which is a machine built specifically for finding the causal chain, had no chain. So it made them up. Every night for about a year, my brain generated a fresh hypothesis and made me watch it. She met someone. She was never serious. She was bored. She saw something in me, some flaw I couldn't see, and looked at 50 more years of it and ran. That last one was the popular one. That one played most nights. 4 years. 4 years of building infrastructure that didn't fall over, and one post-it note that had knocked mine down flat. I got better. I want to be clear about that. I wasn't some ruined guy. I moved companies. I got promoted twice. I dated, seriously even, a lovely woman named Priya for a year and a half, and I liked her enormously, and she eventually said the truest thing anyone said to me. Daniel, you're all the way here. Except there's a door in you that's locked, and you don't even have the key anymore. Somebody took it. She wasn't angry when she said it. That was worse. So, 4 years, Portland, new company, Monday, 9:04 a.m. Our VP of engineering had been out for 2 months, health thing, and the all hands was to introduce the interim replacement. I was in the back with coffee, half listening, thinking about a deployment window. The kind of meeting you attend with your body only. So please join me in welcoming our new director of platform, coming to us from Seattle, Sloane Whitaker. I want to describe what happens in a human body at that moment because I've had 4 years to find words for it and I still don't have good ones. It wasn't a jolt. It was more like every system in me shut down for a full second. Audio dropped out, vision narrowed, the coffee cup in my hand became theoretical, and then everything came back online at once. Too loud, too bright. She walked to the front. She looked incredible, which felt like a personal insult. 4 years had made her sharper, not softer. She'd cut her hair, and there was a stillness in the way she stood that was new. The Sloane I knew crackled. This one held. This one had learned to bank the fire and make you come closer to feel it. She thanked the room. She said something warm about the team. She was good. She was always good. She could hold a room like a hand. And then she scanned the crowd and she found me in the back. And she did not flinch. Not a flicker. She just looked at me 1 second too, and I understood with a horrible cold clarity that she'd known. She'd known I was here before she took the job. She'd walked into this room knowing exactly which face was in the back left. I've been told this team argues, she said to the room, still looking at me. Good. I like being argued with. It's the only way anybody ever finds out they're wrong. A few people laughed. Then she said, some of you know that already. And the room laughed a little more, comfortably, having no idea that a bomb had just gone off in the back row. Afterward, people filed out. I stayed in my chair because I wasn't confident my legs were on speaking terms with my brain. And she came down the aisle, folder under her arm, and stopped beside me. Close, 4 years is different. Up close, I could see it. A tightness at the corner of her mouth that hadn't been there. A stillness that wasn't calm at all. She was holding something so hard her knuckles should have been white, and she was doing it flawlessly. And I knew because I'd spent 18 months learning her tells. And nobody unlearns that. Daniel, she said. Sloane. She held out the folder. My name on the tab, restructure plan. You're on it. Platform my project, my directive. A beat. We start Wednesday. I took the folder. My hands were fine. I was proud of that. You knew I worked here, I said. She didn't blink. Yes. You took the job anyway. Yes. Why? And she smiled. That surgeon smile. That cold, beautiful thing that had nothing to do with warmth. And she said, let's see if you still talk back. And she walked out. I want to tell you I handled it well. I did not handle it well. I handled it by becoming, over the next 6 weeks, the most professional man in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, director. No, director. Ready for your review, director. I was impeccable. I was surgical. I answered exactly what was asked and nothing else, and I let her run meetings, and I did not fight her. Not once, not on anything. She hated it. God, she hated it, and that was the only pleasure I had for 6 weeks. Because, here's the thing, Sloane Whitaker didn't come back to be agreed with. Whatever she'd walked in that door for, it required me to be me. And I had decided, with a spite that I recognize now was just pain in a nice suit, that she was going to get a stranger instead. She'd taken 18 months and a note. Fine. She could have my professionalism. It was the only thing left I could withhold. She started pushing. In week 3, she proposed a migration approach in a room of 12 people that was, and I say this technically, insane. It was fast and it was clever and it would have worked, and it would have created a dependency that would strangle us in 18 months. Daniel, she said into the silence, thoughts. It's your call, director. Somebody actually shifted in their seat. 10 engineers who'd worked with me for 2 years knew, in that instant, that something was extremely wrong. Because I have never once in my professional life said it's your call about a bad architecture decision. Sloane looked at me across that table for 4 seconds, and I saw it a crack tiny at the corner of her mouth. That's it, she said quietly. That's it. She held my eyes another second, then meeting's over, everyone out. Daniel, stay. The room emptied fast. People are not stupid. The door clicked shut, and she stood there with her hands flat on the table, and for the first time in 4 years I watched Sloane Whitaker lose control of her face. Fight me, she said. Excuse me. Plan is bad, Daniel. You know it's bad. I know it's bad. I built it bad. I built it as an obvious trap, and you sat there and said your call like some. Her voice cracked and she reeled it back in. Fight me. Please. You built a bad plan on purpose. I built it to see if you were still in there. I stood up. 6 weeks of impeccable came off me like a coat. Oh, you want to know if I'm still in here? My voice came out low and shaking and I let it. You want to check on me, Sloane? 4 years later? You want a status report on the guy who came home to an empty closet and a post-it note? She flinched. Good, said something ugly in me. Good. 6 words, I said. That's what I got. 18 months and I got 6 words and a disconnected number. Do you know what I did for a year? I ran root cause analysis on myself every night. I'm an engineer, Sloane. That's what I do. I find the fault, and there was no data. You gave me nothing. So I filled it in. You want to know what I filled it in with? Me. The fault was me. It had to be me, because you were fine on Monday and gone on Tuesday. So whatever it was something you saw in me. Daniel, your sister told me if you wanted me to know, you'd have told me. Do you understand what that did? It meant there was a reason. It meant a reason existed, and I was the only person on earth not allowed to have it. I was breathing hard. So no, I don't fight you anymore. You want the thing that made us, that died in September 4 years ago, and you're the one who… I was pregnant. The room stopped. She said it to the table, not to me. Her hands were still flat on it, and they were shaking now, openly, and she wasn't hiding anything at all anymore. I was pregnant, she said again, in September, 8 weeks. I could not speak. There was no air. I found out on a Thursday, she said. The Good Weekend? You remember The Good Weekend? The documentary? I already knew. I made you make me pasta and argue about a documentary, and I already knew. Sloane, let me get it out, please. I've been carrying this for 4 years, and if I stop, I won't start again. She pressed her palms harder into the table. I was going to tell you Saturday. I had it planned. And then on Friday, I had a scan because of some spotting, and they told me it was ectopic. Do you know what that is? It means it's in the wrong place. It means it's never going to be anything, and it's going to rupture, and it's going to take a piece of me with it. They operated Monday. I lost the tube, and I lost… There was nothing to lose, technically. Technically, there was nothing there. She looked up and her face was wrecked. They told me my odds of conceiving again were significantly reduced. Maybe not 0, but significantly reduced. And I was lying in a recovery room by myself, at 31 years old, being told this by a very kind woman with a clipboard. And Daniel… She stopped, swallowed. You had a ring in your sock drawer. The floor moved. How? I found it in July, looking for a phone charger. She laughed, and it was the worst sound I've ever heard. I put it back, and I closed the drawer, and I sat on the floor of your bedroom, and I was so happy I couldn't breathe. I knew what October was for. You had a plan, you always have a plan, and I knew, and I let you have your surprise. And I was going to say yes so fast, you'd barely finish the sentence. Then why? Because you told me. It came out as a shout. Danny, you told me in March, we were at your brother's, your nephew was on your shoulders, and you had that face, that stupid, gone wrecked face. And I said something dumb like you're good at this, and you said, I want 4. I want a loud house. I want the house I grew up in. Tears were coming down her face now, and she wasn't wiping them. You said it like it was a fact about the world, like the sky is blue. You didn't say it to be romantic. That's who you are. Sloane, that's not. So I'm in a recovery room, she went on, relentless. 8 weeks pregnant on Thursday and empty on Monday, being told I probably can't give you the one thing you said out loud you wanted, and you have a ring in a drawer, and you're going to ask me in October. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. And you'd have said it doesn't matter. I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd say it in the hospital, and you'd mean it. You'd have meant it completely, Daniel. That's what you don't understand. I never doubted you'd mean it. Then, I doubted year 11. She hit the table with the flat of her hand and I jumped. Not year 1. Year 1 you'd have meant it. Year 11, at somebody's kid's birthday party when you're 45 and I'm 45 and it's just us, and you get that face, that same face from your brothers, and you look at somebody else's loud house for 1 second too long, and you turn to me and you smile and you say, ready to go? She was sobbing now. Sloane Whitaker, who did not cry, who I'd seen argue with a VP through a migraine, was falling apart in a conference room with the blinds open. I couldn't survive that. I could survive losing you. I couldn't survive watching you not say it for 40 years. I sat down hard, in a chair that wasn't mine. So I ran, she said. Because I was 29 days out of surgery and full of hormones and grief, and I made the worst decision of my life at the worst possible moment to be making decisions. I told myself I was being noble. I was setting you free. I gave you 6 words because if I'd written a 7th, I'd have written 1,000, and I'd have never gotten out that door. The silence went on for a long time. You decided, I finally said. My voice didn't sound like mine. You made a decision about my whole life without me. Yes. You looked at 40 years of me, and you decided you knew what I'd feel at year 11 better than I did. She said it like a confession, and she didn't defend it, and that was somehow the thing that got through. Yes, Daniel, I did. I decided for both of us, and I ran, and I have known it was wrong for approximately 3.5 of the last 4 years. And then what? And then I built a life. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist, hard, angry. I got good at my job. I went to therapy for 2 years, which, the joke is, she said the same thing you just said, almost the same words, in about the 3rd session, and it still took me another year to actually hear it. I dated. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get past 3 months with anyone. Because they'd say something obvious, and I'd think he'd have fought me on that, and I'd get so bored I could scream. I laughed. I don't know why. It came out broken. So 4 years, she said. And then in April, I got a call about this job. And I looked at the org chart and there you were. Senior Systems Architect, Daniel Reyes. And you took it. I took it. She looked at me and her chin came up and there she was. There was the woman from the whiteboard at 5:50 in the morning. I took it because I'm done being noble. Noble almost killed me. I ran 4 years ago because I decided I knew what you wanted. So I came back to do the thing I should have done in the first place, which is stand in front of you and tell you the truth and let you decide. And when I walked in and saw your face, I panicked. So I said something stupid and cruel because when I'm terrified, I get sharp. You know that. You've always known that. Let's see if you still talk back. That's what that was, I said. That was me asking if you were still in there, she said. Badly. That was me asking very badly. I didn't say anything for a long time. She let me. She didn't fill it. That was one of the things about her. She never filled a silence out of nerves. I thought about a lot in that minute. I thought about a recovery room and a clipboard and a woman alone at 31. I thought about how much I'd hated her at 3 a.m. some nights with real heat. I thought about how she'd sat on my bedroom floor, holding a ring she wasn't supposed to find, happy enough to suffocate. I thought about Priya saying there's a door in you and somebody took the key, and I thought about the thing that was true and awful, and that I had to say out loud. I need you to hear something, I said, and it's going to be hard. Okay, you were wrong. Not about the pain. The pain was real, and I'm so sorry you were in that room alone, and I will be angry for the rest of my life that you were in that room alone. I made myself look at her. But you were wrong about me, and you were wrong in the exact way that matters. Because year 11? She waited. Year 11 happened anyway, I said. Just without you in it. I've been at year 11 for 4 years, Sloane. I've been at somebody's kid's birthday party looking at a loud house and thinking ready to go. And I was already going. Alone. You didn't save me from that. You just made sure I did it by myself. She closed her eyes, a tear went down and she let it. I know, she whispered. You took a hard thing that was ours and made it yours. And then you carried it alone for 4 years and you called that love. It wasn't. It was fear wearing love's jacket. My voice was shaking. I would have been in that recovery room. I would have been in that room, Sloane. And it would have been the worst day of my life. And I'd have chosen it every single time over a post-it note. I know, she said again. And it came out cracked all the way through. 4 kids, I said. God, 4 kids was a thing I said at my brother's house. It wasn't a term sheet. You meant it. Stood up. I was too full to sit. I meant a loud house and I didn't care where the noise came from. Adoption, fostering, your terrible cousins, a dog with a personality disorder. I'd have taken any version of loud with you in it, and I would not have spent 1 second at year 11 wishing I'd picked the other thing. I stopped, breathed. But you didn't ask. Sloane, that's the injury, not the leaving. You didn't ask me. You looked at the man you'd argued with for 18 straight months, the one who never once let you get away with a lazy thought, and on the single biggest question of both our lives you decided I couldn't be trusted with the facts. She was crying openly now, nodding, taking it, not defending herself once. That's exactly right, she said. That's exactly what I did. And then she said quietly, so argue with me now. I stared at her. That's what I came back for, she said. That's the whole thing, Daniel. I didn't come back for a second chance. I don't think I get one and I'm not going to insult you by asking for one. She straightened. She got very still. I came back because I made the biggest decision of your life without you and I couldn't die with that. So here's every fact. Here's all of it. 4 years late, everything I stole from you. Her voice broke and she pushed through it. Now you decide. Whatever you decide. If you tell me to transfer out and never see your face again, I'll do it Monday and you'll never hear from me. That's a real option, and I'll honor it. But you get the facts first. You should have had them in September. You get them now. The room was very quiet. Outside, someone laughed at something in the hallway, and it sounded like it came from another planet. I'm not deciding today, I said. Okay. I mean it. 4 years, Sloane. You don't get to hand me 4 years and 20 minutes and get an answer at the end of it. I'm not doing what you did. I'm not making a huge call at the worst possible moment while I'm full of adrenaline. Something moved across her face, something that looked almost like pride, which was insane, which was so completely her that it nearly undid me. That's fair, she said. I'm angry. Yes. I'm going to be angry for a while. It's not going to be pretty, and you're going to have to sit in it and you don't get to be noble about it or run. I'm not running. She said it flat and hard, like a load-bearing thing. I'm out of running. I did 4 years of it and it's a bad plan and it doesn't scale. I laughed. God help me. I laughed and it hurt. And she smiled through a wrecked face, and for 1 second we were 2 people in a war room at 5 a.m., finding out that the most interesting thing on earth is somebody who won't let you be lazy. Your migration plan is bad, I said. She went very still. It's fast and it's clever, and it creates a dependency that strangles us in 18 months, I said. You know it. You built it bad on purpose, which is the most manipulative thing anyone's done to me in a professional setting, and I'm not letting it near production. Sloane Whitaker put her hand over her mouth and started crying in a completely different way. Okay, she said muffled. Okay, then fix it. Wednesday, I said, 9 a.m. Bring the actual plan, the real one. And Sloane. I stopped at the door. My hand was on the handle and I made myself turn around and look at her because I'd spent 4 years not being able to and I wasn't going to waste it. No more deciding for me, I said. Not ever again. Not the small stuff and not the enormous stuff. You want to be in a room with me. Any room, this one or another one, that's the price. You bring me the facts and you let me be a whole person with them, even when the facts are terrible, especially when they're terrible. She nodded, tears running, and she said the thing that made me believe her. That's why I came back, she said. That was the whole point. We rebuilt the plan. It took 9 weeks and it nearly killed both of us, and it was the best work either of us had ever done. She fought me on everything. I fought her back. The team started calling our reviews the show, and people would find excuses to be in the room. I'm not going to tell you how it ended. Not because I'm being coy, because it hasn't. It's ongoing. It's slow and it's messy and it's not a movie, and some days are bad, and there's a version of this where it doesn't work, and we're just two people who found the truth 4 years too late. But here's what I know now, and it took me 4 years in a conference room to learn it. The cruelest thing you can do to someone you love is not leaving. It's deciding for them. It's looking at the person you claim to love and their whole life and deciding you know better than they do what they can carry, and then making the call alone and calling it a gift. She thought she was setting me free. What she actually did was take the biggest choice of my life out of my hands and put it in her pocket and walk out the door with it. Love that protects you from the truth isn't protecting you. It's just fear that learned your name. So tell me, and I've argued both sides of this at 3 in the morning more times than I can count. If you found out something that might change everything for the person you love, something that might make them look at you differently in year 11, would you tell them and risk it? Or would you decide for them and disappear and call it a gift? I know what I think. I want to know what you think. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this one sat in your chest a little, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.